Yes, we know that you're wanting with firm clarification what is time and how you can understand different timelines and how you can figure out more about this. Your real concern is that there are other beings that are in different timelines that are holding back humanity or manipulating humanity. And we want to say, of course, every timeline has that. Every timeline has that. You also are aware that there is no other timelines where Gaia is getting a better deal, that humanity is getting a better deal, and there is another party going on without you, and that you're somehow on the dog's hind legs. This is an analogy that is not even familiar with the vehicle, so she doesn't even understand what the terminology, what the saying phrase is, dog's hind leg. So we will stop ourselves and we will retract that and say, time is, your counting of time is man-made. Man has tried to be clever and find tools to measure the circumferences and the movements of your sun and your moon and everything in between. And so you know this is not a surprise to you. But what you're confused about is how come, from our perspective, we can see all possibilities of the events eventuating to the exit point of this planet, to the depletion of this planet, to the completion of this planet, and everything in between. And we see all possibilities as they move forward. Of course, there is always new changes when people use their free will to either hold themselves back, hold others back. It is not escapable what is going to happen to this planet and why, and we all respect that. And what is the smaller details to get to the next step is still being unfolding. It is still being explored. And explored and explored and explored. We say that what should have been a sprinting marathon has turned into the most slowest, dawdling, distracted, unmotivated, completely lost and confused race. Of course, it is not a race. We're not racing against time as such. Humanity is trying to evolve at its pace, its slow pace. It's very confused pace, very confused pacing. It is starting to awaken to itself to realize that there is not a fair playing field and that some humans have other agendas that may not be the best for all. So they are starting to awaken to the fact that they may have been manipulated and controlled. Of course, you know what has been going on there, but you also know from our perspective what is going on here. And what is going on here is going to make you realize that all the other stuff is just small details to help humanity awaken to itself and have all those experiences in between. So while you're perceiving this moment now in September of your 2021, enjoying the days, finding your joy, finding your inner peace, you're wondering, is there other versions of timelines that are holding us back that we have not considered? Is there healing in future timelines that you haven't considered? That is a bigger concern for you because you're not sure. Maybe you haven't done all that you could. So while you're still trying to be of service, you're trying to make sure that nothing is missed. We're saying to you, from your perspective, in your September, in your life, the days and months ahead of you are going to be ahead of you and your consciousness, however that needs to unfold, knowing that many things need to unfold and many people are holding that up because they are still not empowering themselves to take that next step forward. Well, yes, it would be great that everyone raised their vibration enough to feel love profoundly and to be able to, as a collective, feel and support each other without fear, but merely just with love, which we understand is a very complicated concept for many. To just be in love and not in fear feels very strange, feels very hard for many to accept and to apply and to do. So we understand the challenges that many people are facing. Loving profoundly without fear. Very tricky. We see many people confused about that. And we say that with love, because when you boil it all down to your reactions, you're either coming from a place of love or a place of something else. So any other emotion that isn't love is not your full potential. And we've been hoping for many of you to be in your full potential, because the ramifications of not being in your full potential is still experiences, we know that. But for those who have come here to be full potential, to be able to help raise the vibrations, to be leaders and influencers in a positive manner without the egos tripping them up, we've had this conversation. The true conversation you're still seeking from us is, can you tap into consciousness of people in advanced timelines for this planet to figure out what is happening? And we're saying they've collapsed. Those timelines have been resolved and they have collapsed. They were possibilities. They were other options. They are not currently in your perceivable reach. They will not be your future. You could go consciously connecting to those in other timelines that, while they existed, but from your perspective, they do not exist now. Just like if you went to Nostradamus's home and now he is not there, even though you can connect in with his consciousness as if he is there right now. And of course, he comes in to say hello. And this will be the last time you connect in with Nostradamus in this format, because he is at the end of his life cycle in this body. And he's sitting there and he's hoping he's done enough. He's sitting there and he is worried that his potential delusions that were drug induced was merely just him losing his mind. He has not connected in for a long time in his time with Dolores. And he's always wondering how that dream of his, how that imagination of his connections, which felt so real, conversations that were so rich in content for him and so curious for him, he didn't want to even tell her that he could read the minds of those who he was connected with. He played the game of it, but he knew very well what times she was in through the vehicles. He was able to scan and learn and read more than he was leading on. But it was so much for him, it took him quite some time to process it. And he was so afraid to even share that in documentations because he thought that would make him absolutely certifiably mad. It was just his memories. And he replayed those memories and experiences many times in his life because he could only trust his own memories for himself. It was too maddening to say that he had conversations in his head from people in the future. They would not be acceptable. And in that, he felt so alone. He wanted to be respected because he earned his right in his life to be respected. But the other work that he had to do was so challenging, so pressurizing, and so scary, because those dreams that he had, those visions that he had, came with all of the emotions that one would expect. He had to experience those emotions because they must have needed to be so impactful for him that he would not have ever forgotten. That was the only way he would remember when he was awakened after sleeping or after experiencing his journeys. We're comforting him because he too is worried that he hasn't done enough. We will continue a conversation with him later. But for this moment in your time, you're wanting to see if you connect in with people consciously from other timelines that have either been dissolved or potentially occurring. And we're saying the reason why we brought up Nostradamus to remind you of what he had to experience to recall and recollect different versions of possibilities, haunted him. Consciously, do you want to experience that? Consciously, do you want to see and feel into those other realities? Because you do not know what you're going to get yourself into if you do. And you have to be prepared for it. We could take you on that. You could connect in. But do you really need to? And do you really want to? It is much worse. So it is much worse. Yes, indeed it is. We are blocking you from seeing the full extent of it. But you can see less population. You can see a lot more challenges, a lot more hardships, a lot more divisions. They have been shut on purpose. Those timelines have been shut for safety and security. It's a strange thing to say. When you tell us all the time that everything is a purpose and a lesson, and now we're saying, yes, of course it is a purpose and a lesson, but not one for you to dive into. It is not necessary for you to see all of the ways humanity has got out of control or manipulated. The density that we're giving you now, that you're experiencing now, we want to explain that it is like consciously living through the old earth without the shift. And it just erodes away and erodes away. ironically, this is the best timeline that humanity can be in. And look at the state of it. Look at the state of it. This is the best version of it. We are slipping into smaller and smaller and smaller timelines. The branches and the options have become depleted. There isn't infinitive amounts of timelines for this when you are coming to the close. We have said this in sessions. This is the last scene. This is the last act. It cannot continue on. You have no to be continued. You have no second edition of a movie. You have no version 2 coming soon. On this planet, this vehicle is completely done. This has taken its toll. More than just this planet's vehicle, more than just her soul's experiences, more than all that have been here on this planet, and more than who has just been supporting this planet. Because those who have been supporting this planet, they've also had to focus on this more than other things. They've had to divide their time, divide their energies, divide their balances. They've had to use resources to support this. All those people that justify their lack of responsibilities here on this planet, saying that we're all one, we're all part of source and everything's just energy. Yes, that's true, but it doesn't give you the justification to not love yourself and to not love others. The density is not your best defense and why you haven't done it. That it is a choice and an excuse. The timelines have been locked that have once been there that could have merged and explored. We are shutting down this show and we are putting everything away. And it must sound strange for those who think that everything is just an illusion and infinitive. It is not as you perceive it to be. And even those primitive words that you try to mansplain to us, what is happening doesn't make it so. And this is a struggle. The egos of humans thinking that they know best. And this is the struggle. Misinterpretation of what we are giving you. That's always been a struggle, and we see that regularly. We see that in the very simplest of ways. When we say love yourself and others, and you get so stuck, all you can hear is love yourself. Love yourself, love yourself. And some take it to such extremes that they think that we're justifying, yes, please, can you just be very selfish? That's fantastic. We want to celebrate you for that. There's a difference between self-love and being selfish. And for those who do not see that or know that, there is a problem there. This is not a time for dilly-dallying around. This is not a time to keep justifying why you can't be kind to others and why you can't be kind to yourself with balance. And those people who have been selfish have an unhealthy balance of their time and attention because they're so focused on self. so obsessed with self that they can't share, they can't support, they can't love others. They judge others, they ridicule others still, they mock others. They think that they're more superior to others. The whole range of emotions. Whenever you're comparing yourself to others, you are starting to put divisions between you. And it is not advisable for you to do that. You're supposed to break down and drop all of the labels, all of the divisions, and see unity in everything. We know we're getting off track. All of the collectives who have been assisting with this have done so with due diligence for their own collective's needs. And while that may perceive to be selfish, it is self-preservation. For many, there is a healthy difference there. And it's not until you can drop judgment that you can respect that. We understand that many find this information challenging, and that is their choice and their free will. It is not for us to force those to start loving themselves and others. As a collective, we would hope that that would be humanity's best interest and what humanity would be naturally motivated to do. But we see, for many, it is not enough. There is no motivation, even though they know that loving themselves raises higher vibrations for them and for others around them, which will then naturally give them a higher quality of life and perspective as they are balanced and neutral. Many struggle to see the rewards of being a positive, unconditional, loving being would provide for them when they are so in another state of mind. Timelines have been eaten into and, shall we say, fondled. But just because one timeline has been changed doesn't mean another timeline can be corrected. And that is often the case here. Timelines have merged and shifted in and out from each other as we have been able to correct some things that were too impactful, that was not of great service to humanity or to other collectives here at this time. We are still trying to support those who have free will. We are still trying to support those who have life contracts here to master the third dimension on this planet. We are helping every which way we can. And sometimes things get very out of hand. We have had to step in. But we are very mindful. We are very mindful. And we do not want to destroy anyone's experiences by coming in and stepping in when it is not crucially needed. And when it is crucially needed, we will be there to support, but not in the way physically that you're expecting us to. We will uplift this planet, the occupants of this planet, And we will sort them to go to the right approaches, right places where they have been able to vibrate at. Many who had hoped to be able to shift with humanity to the new earth are struggling with the vibrations. So they are going somewhere else. And that is purposeful. That is important for them to have those experiences. So much is going on. It is an extraordinary time. We have slowed down time to be able to make sure that everything that needs to be done is successful in terms of experiences. Gaia has been so incredibly patient with us. And we know the incredible toll that it is taking on her. Nothing can stop what is about to occur. It is natural cycles. But we are very extraordinarily lucky to have such a good connection with her and with her teams to support her through all of this. We can't beg her to do anything that doesn't serve her. And she is using her free will as she is entitled to do. She is the vessel that you're all residing on. So it has always been in our best interests to make sure there is good communication. It only would make sense that we would be able to work in unison. She knows how hard we have diligently tried to make humanity more respectful, more kind, more considerate, more compassionate. And yet we all know what has gone on and continually gone on. You were supposed to almost compare yourself with those who had done the crimes against humanity to realize you weren't the biggest monsters that were on this planet, because your self-loathing, your lack of love of self, identified more closely to those monsters, shall we say. And so you are supposed to compare yourself, realizing you aren't actually the worst being here, even though often many of you have, in the times of your lowest emotions, felt like you were the worst. We know that comparing yourselves to people who have very challenging life contracts to be of service, have also then taken liberties of their own free will for their own experiences, remembering they have also been approved, remembering their collectives also need those experiences. We all know sometimes you listen with your judgmental ears, still wanting to find who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. You can't do that anymore. You must need to practice listening without judgment, without reactions. So many things have happened to assist you to be able to awaken yourself to yourself, for you to realize that you still are very valid and you must stand now, and you must strengthen yourself and accept all that needs to unfold. There is significance why you have been listening to these sessions. Have you worked out what that is?